Today I want to run through my thoughts on CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies. Now I've been involved in the cryptocurrency space since 2017. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly in the space, but Reserve Bank and government issued CBDCs scares the heck out of me. And I'm going to run through from my knowledge of how code is used in cryptocurrency to the worst and evil ways CBDCs could be used. These will be the worst things that can happen to us if they roll this out and replace cash. For those that don't know what a CBDC is, let me show you something familiar. This is cash. I can hold it, it's in my hands, it's tangible, and it's 50 Australian dollar dues. I can hand this into someone in exchange for goods and services, and to them, it's also worth $50 dues. It's a physical form of a currency. With a central bank digital currency, this disappears. And instead of a digital token, you cannot hold it. It sits in a virtual wallet, very similar to a balance on your bank account, except the balance in your bank account now has a token assigned to it. And that token is tracked from one account to the next. That token is now on a ledger and can be searched and tracked for every account it moves around to. I won't go into the tech deeply, but high level, many cryptocurrencies are built off code to behave a certain way as a token, or to execute code when a transaction happens. The concept I want to get across before I dig into the end of the world as we know it is like cryptocurrency, CBDCs could have the capability to store and execute code on a transaction. And what does that code do? Well, it will depend on what the government wants to happen to control how people use their money. So it's a very light example to ease you into the concept before I go into the seventh layer of hell. Imagine you are a welfare recipient.
Why don't they just employ us? You know? We need the job, they need the staff.
And you get $600 dues a fortnight from the government. Currently, you can go and spend that however you want. You can use your debit card, you can pull it out cash, you can pay your bills, buy groceries, go to the pub for a beer.
Alright, let's go to Bottle-O, I'm shouting.
Put $50 through the pokies hoping for a big payout. You have control of how that money is spent. Now, if the government issued CBDCs to your account, you can't pull it out to cash anymore because cash will be gone. The tokens could have code saying these tokens can only be spent on groceries and utilities because they are issued to a welfare recipient. So if you go to the pub and you try to buy a beer, the transaction will decline because the government may only want you spending that money on essential items until you find a job again.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to cut your payments off. So what? That's it? No more Centrelink?
As some may think, well, okay, in social economics, that could be a good thing to help people focus their government handouts on the essentials instead of the pub. But let's expand on that same concept a bit further. Let's say you have some speeding fines from the government that are overdue.
Well, it's possible I missed a letter, but I doubt it. Ooh, let's check the mail tab. Nope. No. See? It's impossible to find anything in here. It's not my fault.
The government could impose a restriction for your overdue fines, where you are now restricted to only spending your money on essential services until, of course, you pay back the fine. After all, why should you get to go out and watch that movie or go head out to a dinner when you owe the government money? As the government sees it, that's their money and you are cut off from fun until you can pay them back. These restrictions could be applied across countless situations. Maybe you're restricted to only spend on certain things if you have a criminal record, or back to essential services if you haven't paid your taxes. So let's take a step deeper into the second layer of hell. Now that you understand this concept, let's look at how the government can control how people freely move with CBDCs. To do this, we'll use a recent historical example and how the government could have used CBDCs. So from 2020 to 2021, Australia went into a series of lockdowns where they not only locked down our sovereign borders from people coming in and out of the country, but also locked down interstate travel, unless of course you had a government approved exemption pass. Police blockades went up at state lines. People from New South Wales weren't allowed into Queensland, people from Victoria weren't allowed into New South Wales, and Western Australia pretty much said, if we see anyone from the eastern states coming across the desert, we'll shoot them on the spot. But with thousands of backroads and detours across state lines around the country, the police couldn't barricade them all with checkpoints. So people we're taking the roads less travelled and crossing state lines without exemption passes. So if the government did have CBDCs back then, they could have just deployed financial restrictions to your money instead of the police to the state lines. As an example, Queenslanders can only spend money in Queensland or the transaction declines. People from Sydney can only spend money in New South Wales or the transaction declines. And then to the extreme, Melbourne, which had more lockdowns than any other Western country in the world. What if the citizens of Melbourne could only spend their money within the city limits of Melbourne? After all, the city is in a quarantine lockdown and they shouldn't be travelling out of the city anyway, so there's no reason for them to spend money outside the city. And this pretty much would have been the announcement that dictator Dan Andrews said at the time. I'm announcing another lockdown for 6 weeks. Get on the beers. Financial restrictions will be imposed to all citizens within city limits. All offline transactions outside of Melbourne will be cut off. So you can buy your beers in store in Melbourne, but you cannot drive out of Melbourne to buy your beers. You may order beers online to be delivered to Melbourne, but you cannot drive out of Melbourne to collect your beers. So by cutting off where individuals can spend their money, they can control the movement of the population. Now let's jump into some of the big financial levers. So currently, when the economy is slowing down to a halt, the Reserve Bank lowers interest rates to stimulate spending. When the inflation gets too high, they raise interest rates to deter spending and slow it down. That's been the basic seesaw for the last few decades. Of course, there's a lot of other factors that come into play economically, but that's the basic call and response the average person witnesses. So with CBDCs, let's dive down one of the deepest recesses of this dark rabbit hole. Let's scrap the Reserve raising or lowering interest rates. If the economy is running red hot, what if they deployed restrictions to how much money people can spend each month? What if the government imposed 3 months of restricted spending? Even though you might have a lot in savings, you can now only spend a physical certain amount. This forces people to allocate a portion of that to their utilities, bills, and food, and what may be left over may not be very much. Over time, the reduced spending slowly cools down the economy, and maybe after 3 months, the government extends it a bit longer, or maybe they adjust the values up or down. While high interest rates used to be the deterrent, CBDCs would now allow a physical financial blockade, declining the transactions. You may need to hold off on that new TV or delay your holiday for another 6 months. The other side of the seesaw is probably the scariest scenario. This is where you were a kid stuck up in the air on the seesaw and the fat kid on the other end just jumps off and you get dropped. The scenario is the economy is running too slow. No one's spending, lowering interest rates or printing out a few $100 million in stimulus money. Used to be the old trick to get the cog turning again, but now in a system where money is on a digital ledger with dates and can execute code, what if they now put a clock on your money for it to expire? The government needs people to start spending, and what better way to do that is say if you don't spend it, you'll lose it. What if you're saving for a house? Well, guess what? Not anymore. You're not until the government removes this financial restriction out of place. Oh, some major institutions and banks fucking crash the economy again? Well, now you have to start spending instead of saving and investing towards your financial goals. Think about if you were down to your last few years before retirement. They could keep you working. Now, the rich won't take very kindly to these measures, which is why there will be loopholes and exemptions and ways for them to move their money through investments and businesses to legally circumvent these measures, leaving, once again, the middle and lower class to pick up the bills and be financially strangled. That's just a couple. I haven't even scraped the tip of the iceberg when it comes to your privacy and every transaction you do being on a permanent ledger, but I might touch base on that in a separate video. Now, I know that you are thinking they can never take away cash. Well, in Australia, they can. Section 51, paragraph 7 is a subsection of the Australian Constitution that gives the Commonwealth Parliament the right to legislate with respect to currency, coinage, and legal tender. This means while currently cash is a legal tender, the Australian Parliament can turn around tomorrow with new legislation saying cash is no longer a legal tender, and CBDCs are a legal tender. There is nothing locking cash as a permanent currency artifact to the Constitution. And if you aren't from Australia, how confident are you that your government hasn't got something similar? There's over 100 countries right now currently developing and testing CBDCs. This is a new world order coming into play. So leave your thoughts down below in the comments. Are you going to let your government do this? Are you concerned your mainstream news isn't talking about it? What won't you be able to do if cash is removed? Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.